All right, hey everybody, welcome to Green Lantern Mentorship. So we have a video here where someone is saying she's debt-free and the debt-free life is either lit or fire, and she became debt-free, completely debt-free 2 years ago. So let's see what her experience is like.
I became completely debt free 2 years ago, which is crazy how fast it's gone. It took me 5 years to pay off my debt. I had a total of 82,000, more than $82,000 of debt, and I still am a firm believer that debt free is the way to go. I'm not opposed to a mortgage. That's something that I eventually will get to. I don't own property now, so I'm okay with having mortgage debt, but I never again. I will do whatever it takes to not have credit card debt, car debt, all of the things because it's not worth it. And I still use my credit cards. I get all the points, the rewards from the banks, bonuses, cash back. I want all that money back and more because I paid a ton of interest to the banks before, but I've made all that money back and then some. But I live within my means and I still travel. I prioritize what I want to spend my money on. I still buy clothes. I go out to eat here and there. But now my focus is on building wealth and nothing is working against me. So I don't have any interest that's working against me. I am putting money into savings, putting money into my investments, and now my money is working for me. And life is just so much less stressful when you don't have all these extra payments to make. You don't have any minimum payments hovering over you. You don't owe money to people. Life is so much, it's just a breath of fresh air, truly. Being debt free does not eliminate all financial stress. Don't get me wrong. Like, I still want to work on increasing my income. I still don't feel like I have enough money. It's something I'm actively thinking about and working on, but not owing money to anybody, no banks, it just helps you sleep better at night. Truly. It's worth it. And I highly recommend it. If you've not started your debt free journey, or if you are on your debt free journey and need a push to keep on going, like, let this be your sign that it's worth it. You'll get to the other side and you'll feel the same way. I guarantee it. I became
All right, so someone asked, where was the 80K from? About 50K in student loans, then my car, credit cards, and money I owed my sister. So did she pay off the student loans first, then the car? Usually when we do like debt payoff demonstrations, it's usually the car, the credit cards, then the car, then the student loans, and the money that you owe your family. Ooh, I've never made any comments about that. So if you don't know what this means easy budget. So this is budget in Spanish. So let me just go ahead and click here and see what we have. We might do a Latino version of this. Okay. What what country is from? Anyways, all right. So we'll react to this later. So let's go ahead and get started
I became
and pay off debt using what we used to call the velocity banking method, and then I called it the artist formerly known as Prince Velocity Banking Debt Cannonball method, and somebody complained that the name was too long. So I've decided to call it the or use the term velocity method. So what we're going to do is pay off debt using the same income, same budget, and make it easier for us to pay off debt. And so if you take a look here, I put the same figures, what I thought was what she had: 50K student loan, auto loan, a couple of credit cards. She says she doesn't own a home, so I put, rent right here, assuming that she's the only one living in the apartment. And here we have, personal expenses just for one person, and she might even have less credit card debt than this because she says she travels, and traveling is quite expensive, very expensive nowadays. So, well, actually, I don't know if it's very expensive. Heard that Spirit Airlines got bailed out, even though they were broke, but we'll see. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this thing called velocity banking. So, what is velocity banking? It is a debt payoff strategy where you throw all of your money. Oh, I can't even use the term banking. It's such a Pavlovian reflex. We call it the velocity method, and the reason why you can't use the term velocity banking is because the State Department of Professional Financial something, I forget what it was called, of Illinois, went after the Kwok brothers for using the term accelerated and velocity banking. So what are we going to do here? What's the difference between here and here? We assume we have the same income and also the same expenses, right? And then we're not going to save money at all into our checking and savings. No, 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 no. That's the opposite of debt payoff of trying to save money. And then what we're going to do is focus on increasing this cash flow number. Now, ideally, we would have access to something called a line of credit, right? And what's a line of credit? It's a financial tool where you can borrow money, pay it back, and then use it over and over again, right? So what we're going to do here is assume we have access to maybe a $15,000 personal line of credit. I have several of these myself. Home equity line of credits usually have like an 8% interest rate, and they'll give you about 80 to 90% of the equity of of what you have in equity in your home. If you don't know what the term home equity means, it just means the amount your home is worth. Usually they calculate that by comparable sales. They usually don't need a formal appraisal unless like they're giving a huge line of credit. Okay, so there is so that's really essentially what home equity is basically the amount your home is worth minus any debts tied to the property. So mortgages, other home equity lines of credit, all that stuff. That's pretty much what the equity is. So in other words, how much is the home worth minus the debt tied to the home. All right, so now this is what we're going to do here. Um, so now when we first thing is we have to make sure we have a budget, and in our budget we have to make sure that we list every single debt that we have. So we have five debts here: three credit cards, an auto loan, student loan. So it's relatively easier than the situations that we deal with because I deal with PhD level situations. And so if I see like two debts or three debts, I'm like thinking, and I hate to say this, that this is a joke, right? Because because I'm in a because I've been doing this for so long and I've been dealing with 10 to 20 debts every time I do a demonstration, and sometimes I think that it becomes a little bit too overwhelming for people if I do it that way, but it is what it is, right? So yeah. Okay, so now what we're going to do is calculate something called the cash flow index. So basically we have the debt amount here divided by the monthly payment, and then we have the auto loan and student. So if you don't know what the cash flow index is, basically what you do is you take the debt amount, divide by the monthly payment, and then what you do is you do that for every single debt, and then you use this to rank the debt order, right? And so the lower the number, that's the ones you want to pay off first because you get more bang for your buck for paying off the debt. So for example, I'm just going to compare these two loans, right? Even though this is a 3% interest rate, if I pay this auto loan off first, I get $449 of cash flow. And if the student loan is literally double the auto loan, yet the payment is not double the auto loan. You see what I'm saying? Like it's about bang for your buck. It's about debt to payment ratio. So this is what we're going to do is we're going to move this debt into a line of credit. And I remember there was a comment a long time ago where someone's saying like, hey, like no one has a free and clear line of credit laying around. And that's true because you're not going to get one if you're struggling with debt, right? And that's true of any credit because the way that banks work is they don't lend money to people who need it, and banks don't lend money to people who need it. And here's the thing: if you ever go to a bank when you need money, they literally think, as an institution, that you're a bad person to rip them off because people who need money don't pay you back, right? And so here, what we're going to do is assume we have a free and clear line of credit. And why do we assume we have a free and clear line of credit? It makes the demonstration for this incredibly easy, right? And if you want to see a more realistic scenario, pay 99 cents to join the YouTube channel membership. Okay, so I've done a live stream where I did 22 debts, $5,000 of income, $4 left over, and a lot of people loved it. In fact, people still watch that live stream. It's my most watched paid membership live stream ever. So let me go ahead and do this. So we only have 15,000, right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to have to do this. Usually I like to be lazy, put all credit cards in the line of credit, but this time we can't. So what we're going to do is this 5, 8, and then I'm going to sum it up, okay? And this is going to be 13,000. Actually, this is what we can do is that this is going to be 15,000, right? And so what we're going to do is put all these two credit cards here. So these payments go to zero. And then now the credit card balance of this one will be 13 grand because we're trying to move as much of the balance as possible, which also means that this one will also, this payment will also slightly decrease because credit card payments are usually based on a percentage of the income plus the interest. But we'll say, okay, so I have these calculators right here to kind of determine that. But yeah, so now, you know, it's not anything too impressive, right? Because if we're able to have a bigger line of credit because of the interest rate, right? I'm sorry, not because it's has a lower interest rate. One of the reasons why we'll win is because we're literally going from 30 to 27 to 15, right? But another reason why is because it sucks up so much cash flow. So when we move it into a line of credit, we're able to easily pay it off. And I think we should be fine, but you'll see that this checking and savings literally doubled. Now, when I do these demonstrations, I really love going from zero to $5,000, but I realize that's a very specific situation, so we'll go with something quote more realistic, even though having a free and clear line of credit is not realistic. All right, so let me go ahead and say this. So if you want to get the next month's balance based on the previous month's balance, interest minus cash flow, so 973.18. And then what we're going to do is take the average daily balance, right? Right. Whoopsie. That's how you calculate the line of credit interest. Multiply by the interest rate and then divide by 12, right? And so we're going to go ahead and copy this. And here's the other thing too. Like if you want, so you see that this balance goes down about 1,000, almost $1,000, right? So what you can do is if you want to just increase your cash flow and max, but you can just max out the line and just make almost $1,000 transfers every month, and then that could be an alternative. I don't think you should keep the credit card balance, right? Because the credit card balance is 27% and this is 15. But I'm going to be a little bit lazy here, and we'll just do it $5,000 at a time. So in month five, okay, and obviously the credit card balance will go down when you're making those monthly payments, but we'll say that this is now $8,000, and then we moved, we'll say 4,000 here. So the tricky thing about doing this with credit cards is that because credit cards are variable every single month, the interest I believe could vary, right? And then the monthly payment will vary, which makes this really tricky. So just be aware of that. So let me just kind of do this. So this is now 8K. So 8K at 27% will be 260 based on this, right? And so now our cash flow is about $1,000 a month. Okay, so now just do this, update our cash flow to 1135.68, and then we're going to do this. So this one's a little bit trickier than what I normally do, but the idea is mostly the same. You're just going to dump all your money into a line of credit, and then yeah. So hold on. Okay. So this is where we dump money into line of credit, and then we scroll down. So this is actually this is probably the most complicated part. All right. So now let me just do this. Okay. So probably at this point, maybe the balance is like 7,000. I'll just say 8,000 just to be accurate. And then so what we're gonna do is just do this, and then plus 8,000, and then now this is gonna be zero, right? So now credit card debt paid off. Okay. All right. So now let's do this. So now we're gonna subtract 1395.68, and I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste. Okay. And then we see that in about 25 months, and I'm just kind of doing some cowboy math here because realistically, your cash flow is not going to be the same every single month, right? Like I said before, your credit card has variable payments, so your cash flow should increase after every single month, but it's very hard for me. I haven't figured out a way mathematically to reproduce that in a spreadsheet, but no worries. Okay, so 25 months it's been paid off, right? All three credit cards, we could assume. So 25 months, and then what do we have here? This was 5, this was 8, and I believe this was 15. So 5, 8, 15 is 28K. Okay. And then we have the auto loan and the student loan. So let's figure out at 25 months what the balance of the auto loan is, right? So I'm just going to do 25, 25 for these loans. This is the current month and this current balance. And look at that. um, it's right at that $15,000 mark. Okay. So what happens when we just move 1 month, 26, 26? Yeah. So we'll just assume that at month 26, okay, we didn't uh, use, and again, this is why it's always best to have the biggest line of credit possible. Makes your life a little bit easier, but it's okay. So let's just assume at month 26, we just waited 1 month, okay? Um, because we can't put 15,000. But so actually, let me think about this. So $1,395, right? Yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna do this. All right. So let me go back here. I'll just do month 25, month 25. Whatever. I'll just say 15 grand. I'm gonna approximate it. So I'll just say 15 grand here. So plus 15000. Okay. And then here, this is going to be our auto loan going to 0. And then we see that our cash flow is 1844.90, right? And so now what we're going to do, and the reason why we're moving the auto loan and not the student loan is that the auto loan has a lower cash flow index, meaning you get more bang for your buck for paying off that loan. So even though this is 6%, we pay the 3% off first because 15 grand for 449 rather than 41 grand for 555, right? So let me just kind of do this right here. So 1844.9. Okay. And so now this is 34 months. This has been paid off. So 34 months it's been paid off. And so now, in less than 3 years, we paid off our credit cards and our auto debt. So it's 28 plus 25. And then this would be 53K. And then the last is a student loan. So from what I remember, she said she paid off her student loan first. But according to this cash flow index, we should pay it off last because we get the least amount of cash flow. So now, since our student loan is the only thing left to pay off, right? Um, we can do one of two things, right? We can put our dump our 1844.90 cash flow into the student loan as an extra payment, or we could just move it into a line of credit or a piece of loan to the line of credit. So one of the things that people are very skeptical about is that if you're using, let's say, a 15% line of credit to pay a 6% loan, does that even make sense, right? And I would say that one of the reasons why you might use a line of credit to pay off the loan, right, is that you don't want to segregate your income. Because what does that mean? Is your income comes in, it gets split all over the place, and you have very little left over. Now, at this point, that's not really happening, but the reason why we're able to get here is because we're putting our money into one place, aka the line of credit. And I'm not explaining the whole thing, but I'm just giving you the gist of why we might want to do that. But if you're afraid of using a higher interest rate line of credit, that's fine. We have this band calculator here of where we can just kind of mess with the interest rates, and you'll see that if you go 8, 15, or 30, it's usually not a big deal in most cases, right? I would say the only time it's a big deal is if you have very little cash flow and you're paying off the debt in the wrong order. Okay, so let's go ahead and just do this right here. So let me just do this. $50,000 student loan. What's the current balance? The current balance is 38723.24. So 38723.24. Interest rate is 6%, 10 years, and then the payment amount is 555.1. And then what's the living expenses? Let me just quickly check. Oh, it's these two. So basically everything except for the loan we're trying to pay off, right? So our living expense is actually 2,600. $2,600. So this is leftover numbers from another demonstration. And then you see it gets paid off in 1.4 years, right? And actually this was 8%. So let's use a 15% line of credit. So 1.5. So it's an extra $400 if you use a 15% line of credit. So if that's a kind of a concern to you, then just overpay it directly, right? So I'm just going to show you here at 1.5 years, and then there's going to be zero. This is 0, and this will be 34 divided by 12 plus 1.5. So in less than 5 years, we're completely debt free, right? Debt free. All right, well, that's it for today, folks. This is Creelanta Mentorship here with another video with a couple of credit cards, an auto loan, a student loan. Now, realistically, if I didn't have access to a line of credit, what I would probably do is try to get my extra cash flow and then just dump it all into like I would make the minimums in the credit cards, and I would be forced to put the $473 into one credit card as an extra payment. Like that's what I would probably do. But you see that having a line of credit, personal or business line of credit or whatever, home equity line of credit is just much more, it's much easier to deal with, right? Okay, well, have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you all in the next video.